Pull a carton out of almost any freezer aisle in America and look at the front. Not the flavor, not the brand. Look at the small print, usually tucked near the bottom, right where you'd expect two simple words: ice cream. On a lot of these cartons, those two words aren't there. Instead, in type so small most people never read it, it says something else. Frozen dairy dessert. Same freezer, same price, same creamy photo on the front, but a different name. And that name isn't a marketing choice, it's a legal one. Because in the United States, ice cream is a protected term. A company doesn't get to use it just because the product is cold, sweet, and made with milk. It has to earn it. And when a brand you've trusted for years quietly swaps ice cream for frozen dairy dessert, it's telling you something specific happened to the recipe. By the end, I'll show you two cartons from the same company sitting side by side that reveal exactly what those two words are hiding. One of them you're probably buying right now. Start with the law, because this is where it gets interesting. The FDA sets what's called a standard of identity for ice cream. It's a recipe floor. To put ice cream on the label, a product has to clear a few hard numbers. At least 10% milk fat, real fat from dairy, a minimum weight of 4.5 pounds per gallon, and a cap on how much air can be whipped in. That last one surprises people. Ice cream is supposed to have air in it. The industry calls it overrun, and a little air is what keeps it scoopable instead of frozen solid. But the amount is limited. A carton can't be mostly air pretending to be dessert. So those three numbers, fat, weight, air, draw a line. Stay above it, and you can call it ice cream. Drop below it on any one of them, and you legally can't. You have to reach for a different name. That name is frozen dairy dessert. And here's the part that matters. Unlike ice cream, frozen dairy dessert has almost no standard of its own. No minimum milk fat, no required weight. It's a catch-all. The only thing it tells you for certain is what the product is not. It's not ice cream. It didn't clear the line. Now let's put that line to the test with two cartons from the same brand. Breyers has been making ice cream in Philadelphia since 1866. Founder's name on the tub, a pledge of purity, the whole story. And Breyers still makes real ice cream. Their natural vanilla is the genuine article. Read its ingredient list, and it's short. Milk, cream, sugar, a stabilizing gum, natural flavor. That's a product built on cream, and it says ice cream on the front because it qualifies. Now pick up another Breyers vanilla from the same shelf. Extra creamy vanilla. The name sounds richer. The word creamy is right there in bold. You'd assume it's the more indulgent choice. Turn it over. The first ingredient isn't cream. It isn't even whole milk. It's skim milk. Milk with the fat taken out. Then cane sugar. Then cream, finally, in third. Then corn syrup. Then water. Water added to the mix. After that comes a run of ingredients doing the job that fat used to do. Whey, mono and diglycerides, guar gum, carob bean gum, tara gum, 3 separate gums to rebuild the thickness that leaving out the cream took away. And down in the small print on the front, where the other carton says ice cream, this one says frozen dairy dessert. Same brand, same freezer, same price. One is built on cream. The other starts with skim milk, corn syrup, and water, and hires a team of gums to imitate the texture of the first. The word creamy is on the front of the one with less cream. That's not an accident. And it's not against the rules. It's just a downgrade that the law forces the company to admit in the two words most shoppers never read. Here's the second half of what those words are hiding, and it's the part you can't taste. Remember the weight rule, 4.5 pounds per gallon. It exists to stop manufacturers from selling you air, because whipping in extra air is one of the cheapest ways to make a carton go further. More air, more volume, more cartons per batch of actual dairy. Real ice cream is capped on how much air it can hold. A frozen dairy dessert has more room to inflate. So 2 cartons can look identical on the shelf. Same size box, same price, and one can literally weigh less
because a bigger share of what's inside is air. You felt this without naming it. That carton that seems to shrink to nothing the moment it softens. The scoop that collapses. That's often air leaving the room. You paid for a full container. Some of what you carried home was whipped in for free. Free for them, not for you. Cream costs money. Air doesn't. When you replace one with the other, the label has to change, but the price on the shelf usually doesn't.
So why would a company with a 150-year reputation walk away from the words ice cream? One reason mostly. Butterfat is one of the most expensive ingredients in the whole recipe. Cut it, and you cut cost. By some industry estimates, replacing dairy fat can lower ingredient costs by 20 to 40%. Fill the gap with skim milk, a little oil or corn syrup, some gums and emulsifiers for mouthfeel, and a bit more air for volume, and you get a product that still looks and scoops like ice cream for less. Listen to how it gets described. Brands don't announce, "We took out the cream." They talk about a new manufacturing technique that breaks down fat molecules to create a smoother texture with less milk fat. Every word of that is technically defensible. It's also a very polished way of saying the recipe now has less of the expensive part. And to be fair, this is where we stay honest. Frozen dairy dessert is not poison, and it's not a scam. Less butterfat can mean fewer calories and less saturated fat, which some people actively want. There's nothing hidden being slipped into the tub. The issue isn't safety. The issue is that a real change happened to something you thought stayed the same, and the only public admission of it is 2 words in tiny type. And it isn't one brand having a bad decade. Once you start flipping cartons, the pattern is everywhere. Edie's and Dreyers helped kick off the trend years ago. Blue Bunny, Klondike, store brands, novelty bars, the sandwiches. Many carry frozen dairy dessert somewhere on the package. Even Dairy Queen's classic soft serve doesn't meet the milk fat minimum to be called ice cream. That swirl you grew up on is, by the federal definition, not ice cream. But here's the twist that keeps this honest, and it cuts the other way. The word ice cream on the label is a floor, not a gold star. Breyers' own French vanilla says ice cream. It qualifies. And it still lists corn syrup, whey, 3 vegetable gums, and emulsifiers. Clearing the legal line doesn't mean short and simple. It just means the fat and the weight and the air all landed on the right side of the rule. So frozen dairy dessert tells you something failed the test. Ice cream only tells you it passed. Neither one, by itself, tells you the whole story of what's in the tub. For that, you still have to turn the carton over. Which brings us back to those 2 cartons and the 2 words. Frozen dairy dessert isn't a fancier way of saying ice cream. It's the opposite. It's the phrase a company is legally required to use the moment its recipe drops below what ice cream has to be. Less fat, less weight, more air, or all 3. It's not the brand getting creative. It's the brand confessing, in the smallest font on the box, that this isn't the thing you think it is. The picture on the front is designed to make you assume. The name in the small print is the one place they have to tell you the truth. And the whole trick works because those 2 things sit inches apart, and almost nobody reads the second one. So what do the words actually guarantee? Ice cream guarantees a floor, at least 10% milk fat, a minimum weight, a limit on air. Frozen dairy dessert guarantees only one thing, that the product didn't clear that floor. Beyond that, it makes no promises at all. Here's the 10-second habit that beats every carton in the aisle. Before you drop it in the cart, find the product name in the small print near the bottom of the front panel. If it says ice cream, it cleared the line. If it says frozen dairy dessert, it didn't. And now you know to ask why. Then turn it over and read the first 3 ingredients. If you see skim milk, corn syrup, or water sitting ahead of cream, you're holding something engineered to feel like ice cream, not something built from it. None of this is about fear. It's about not letting a photo and a familiar logo make a decision your own eyes can make in 10 seconds. The front of the carton is the pitch. The name and the small print is the fact. Once you know where to look, the two words stop hiding. So go check your own freezer tonight. Pull out whatever's in there and read the small print. Ice cream or frozen dairy dessert? Tell me what you find in the comments, because a lot of people are about to be surprised by their favorite brand. And if reading the label with you like this is the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe to Behind the Label. The next carton you pick up will never look quite the same.